here we are today, going to show you how to do the reverse painting with the UV resin. Several people have asked me, do you have a video? No, I didn't, but I thought, why not? The very first thing I always do is clean my mould and any tools I'm going to use. This is a piece of laminate. So I cut myself a template, and you see how it fits quite nicely. Try not to have any of it over the edge. That way your template, when you cut out your tattoo, it will fit nicely inside your space. And I use this so that I can choose my portion of the tattoo that I want to put inside my design. That way I can go right up to the edge of things, I can include things, I can miss them out. It's just the method of seeing what I want to put in. So that might be something useful if you're going to do this method. The tattoo has a plastic protection sheet on top, and all I do is go around the edge of the template with one of these dotting tools to make a sort of like a scoring line. And when you remove the template, you can see in the plastic, if you hold it to the light, you can see the line you scored, so you can cut around that. And I find this works very well. It actually makes the design fit inside the template space for your tray or whatever it is you're using. And as I go through the video, I will try to give you some tips on how to do things that can be tricky or are just fiddly, and how to get the best results from using this technique. And just to make sure that I've got the outline of the template on, I usually go around twice just to make absolutely sure. And then I just cut around the lines. So as you can see, fits quite nicely inside the tray. Now once you've got your tattoo in the place that you want, you don't want to have to peel it off again to remove that protective plastic layer. So what I do is I leave the protective layer on, put my tattoo in the position that I want it in, and then I peel back the top, the bit with the paper, and I remove the plastic sheet half at a time. I'll show you what I mean. So there's the plastic protection. Try not to put your fingers too much all over the actual tattoo because it is sticky and it might take on fingerprints. I use wet wipes to dampen down my tattoos. Also, something else that I do when I peel back my stickers, you see how I'm keeping it low and flat and just rolling it gently back? If there's a piece of the tattoo that's not damp, it allows it to roll better, and you can see and you can dampen it down a bit more. If you've got air bubbles, you can very gently use a pin or a needle, put a couple of holes in each bubble, and then smooth it out with a soft brush. How do I do this in reverse? And it can get a little bit confusing. I suggest that you have a copy of whatever it is you're going to reverse paint. Either a duplicate of the product itself, like this, I've got another copy of this tattoo, or print a copy of what you're painting so you've got a reference point. Especially in a busy design like this, where things are overlapping each other and it may not be clear if it's a leaf or a flower or what part of the actual leaf or flower it belongs to. Another thing I found useful is make yourself a list of all, like the flowers or the leaves or whatever they are, and I always start from the top and work my way down. So as you can see, I've assigned a colour to each flower or leaf or the watch as I go along, and I stick that in front of me so that I know what colours go where, and I'm not thinking too much about it. I enjoy this process, I must say. I put on some music or I put on a story to listen to, and I'm in the zone. I'm very happy. The only thing I think you really need with a project like this is patience, patience, patience. It takes a while to build it up as you go, but with the UV resin, at least if you get so far and you get tired or you get fed up with doing it, you can leave it at that point and come back and do it. This is the fun part. My list is in front of me and I'm going from the top down. These little makeup brushes are wonderful for this. They're nice and short, they fit in your hand nicely. They got good points on them, and I use them for this all the time. All the things that I use, I've put them in a supplies list in the description box below. If I missed anything, let me know. So a lot of this, the actual painting, has been left in real time. Something else to remember, always cure from underneath, especially when you use dark colours like these. They sometimes need a little bit longer of curing. And you can always test if something's cured by gently tapping it with a toothpick. If it's sticky, then you need to cure it a bit more. So I was happily moving on to the next flower, mixed up my UV resin, started painting, and as I was looking over it, I thought, oh, where does this bit belong to? And this is what I mean about having a reference point. This belonged to the first flower. You can see I'm pointing to it on my sort of reference sheet, if you like. So if I hadn't noticed that and I hadn't looked at my reference picture, I would have done it the wrong colour, but it actually belonged to the first rose. So that's a good example of getting yourself something to look at every now and again for comparison. It really helps. When you paint like this, so now you've got two flowers, two different colours, always make sure that you blend back into the previous colour, because remember that's now going to be dry because you've cured it. Just blend back a little bit with the colour that you're using so that you don't get any gaps, and you'll see me doing that. Not so much on this one because it's only a small part on the top there by the leaf, but you will see it later on, and I'll try and mention it so that you understand what I'm talking about. And between each colour, obviously cure them. So yeah, this goes on the petals of the daisy. And of course, these are the colours that I've chosen. You can choose the colours you like, and this method so far I've used it mixing up the UV resin with ordinary mica and glitter mica, also chameleon mica powder. The first rose that I painted was a chameleon colour, So you can pretty much use this. I think you could probably even do it with pigment. Anything that you can put in, you know, the ordinary resin, you can do with this. The only thing that can get a little bit hard is black. Black does not cure very well. I think if you were going to put black in anything like this, you would have to put on several thin coats and give it a good curing from above and below. So yeah, I just sort of work my way quite happily and steadily. As I say, now I'm in the zone. I'm just taking my time. I love doing this. I find it very relaxing. And just, you know, gradually work my way through all the colours and all the flowers. And again, just cure every single colour that you do. Also, sometimes you need to go along the edges. Just, even if you've cured it, you can go along the edges and put more paint on. I discovered that this particular UV lamp, I could fold up the legs and put this tray on top. And that worked perfectly. That was not by design, that was by, oh yes, I can do that. So that was a very handy thing for curing them underneath. So here you can see me doing what I was telling you about, working the yellow back. The petals of the daisy, they're obviously white, and I'm putting on the yellow center, but I'm working the yellow back over the top of the white so that it fills it in completely. There's no gaps. And this sort of blending back technique ensures that you get everything covered, especially when something's in the center. You want it to sort of radiate outwards to cover the whole center. So having done the flowers, I am moving on to the leaves. Get my colours mixed. Yeah. I usually work from the top down. This project, with all the flowers and the leaves and the background, there are a total of 13 colours. So it's quite colourful. I find that when you have things to paint like this, you know, like leaves, that can go from very narrow to wider, if you put the resin on and then just use the very tip of the brush to sort of float the paint along like this, that works very well. You can sort of coax the paint along into the narrower parts of the design. Almost like sort of floating the paint. Yeah, and the leaves. And there's a stem on here too, next to the orange flowers. They're quite tiny. So that method works very well. As you'll see on the stem piece, I put the paint down. I'm going to call it paint because, you know, got to call it something, and just drag it with the very tip of the brush, just above. I've done several of these reverse painting projects. I did one with the same tray. I did an oval tiger tray, and another version of reverse painting that I did was making the sugar skull box. That's actually, the mask is the silicone mold. It's not a tattoo, but it's the same technique, using mixed UV resin and mica powder to paint on the side that you would pour your resin onto, filling that up with the reverse painting method. And I'll put links to both of those so that you can see different examples, but it's the same technique. And that worked out very well. Both those projects worked out very well. When doing the chain, they look like little beads. This dotting tool comes in very handy. And I didn't know what to do for the clock face. So this is glow in the dark mica. And I thought that's what I would do, just for a bit of fun. Since this is a large area, I got my spoon out and started spooning it on. This is only the second time I've used a glow in the dark. I don't know why I haven't used it before, because it's fun. The first time I used it was when I just did a Halloween, and I used it in one of my Halloween projects. My creepy spiders tray. Pushing the mica up to the gold to make sure that there are no gaps. At this point, I gave the whole thing a good curing back and front, several minutes on each side. And this is such a beautiful colour. It's a new one. I don't think I've used it before. You can do all your usual going around the edge looking for bubbles, but remember, you've got a tattoo in there with UV resin. You don't want to lift the edges, so just be aware of that and be careful. You can do the usual heat gun. Try and keep the tool on the outside when you go around, and don't push too hard, and just be gentle. Now I have to put mine over here and top it up. Yes, as I've said so many times before, this is Joy Dance Day. Unmolding! Everybody loves this bit. I was being a little bit careful because that tattoo in there is sticky. And go slowly. This is where all the curing underneath really pays off. Take your time. And this is a slower unmold than usual. I'm keeping everything crossed right now. Nothing worse than doing this and finding great chunks of your tattoo sticking to the silicone. Project's ruined. So go with caution. The sharp-eyed amongst you will probably realise, oops, the watch face is around the wrong way, but this is a reverse painting video. This is how it comes out. So the manufacturer of the tattoo didn't take into account the reversal of the numbers. The tattoo is still tacky to the touch. And I put a clear coat of ordinary resin over it. And here's just to show you that it glows in the dark. And here is a final graph, if you like, of all the colours that I used.